Hi, welcome. Welcome to session number 1 of the Resourcefulness and Resiliency series. And this series is really focused on parenting tips to help your children develop and foster a sense of resourcefulness and resiliency. So tonight, I'm in the little cottage, and so the setup is different, and hopefully I have a good connection and we can get through the evening. But welcome so much, and thank you for joining me. And anytime that you have a question, please type it in. I'd be more than happy to answer it for you here, or you can even message or text me or call me if you have a question that you want to speak with me privately. So welcome. So this will be a 6-week series, and I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about what we'll cover, and then we'll go straight into a child-focused session. And then next week, it'll be a parent-focused session, giving you more tools and a better understanding of what we say and what we do and how it affects our children. Week number 3, we'll go into resiliency, how to foster and develop resiliency in your children. Week number 4 will be resourcefulness, how to foster and develop resourcefulness in your children. And week number 5 is going to be about strengths and traits. Hello, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Strengths and traits such as gratitude and optimism. I talk about this a lot. If we can develop gratitude in our children, imagine how much easier parenting will be when they are bombarded with advertising of things that they should have, they want. But if they already have gratitude and a healthy gratitude, imagine how different it will be parenting children with a sense of gratitude. And then week number 6 will be the wrap up. So I want to talk a little bit about why I'm doing this. So most people that I see come to me with limiting, negative self-beliefs, such as not good enough, not worthy, not wanted, not loved, right? That develops early in childhood, usually before the age of 8 to 11. Because before the age of 8 to 11, a young child's brain, our brains at that time, are like sponges. And we believe what is said and what is shown to us at a literal level. So as parents, or maybe even your parents, things may have been said such as something as easy and as legitimate as, you don't deserve that toy because maybe you didn't clean your room or you didn't get the grades. But a child may hear you don't deserve and develop a sense of not being worthy, right? Not worthy of anything that they really want, because here's the kicker, it doesn't have to make sense. Children believe at a literal level. Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy don't make sense, but to a child they're believable. So that is the brain that is absorbing all that they see and hear and feel and know. We all know that children in divorce many times believe it's their fault. That if only they could have been better, they could have saved the marriage. This may develop into they're not capable or they're not good enough. It may even develop into they are not enough, which is a slight difference from not good enough. Not enough means that one parent didn't love them enough, right, to stay in the marriage. Or children that were given up for adoption many times come away with not enough. They weren't enough to make that parent keep them. So my purpose, right, is not judgment and blame, and I'm going to talk about that. We all do the very best we can with the tools we have, including our parents. But to give your children, hi Michelle, to give your children tools that they can use, because they will have negative beliefs. We all do. We're human, And this is part of the human experience. It's the challenge and the tools to help overcome those limiting beliefs. That's my focus and why I want to work on this program now. So why this topic? Because we can do a lot for our children. The great thing about this program is whether you're raising children or you have grandchildren or your children are already grown, even if you have no children at all, this program will give you a lot of insight into what makes all of us tick. Our negative, limiting self-beliefs. All right, so let's get into some definitions about what is actually resourcefulness. Hi, Amy, welcome. Resourcefulness is able to deal skillfully and promptly with new situations or difficulties. You have this resourcefulness from your experiences. As you go through life, we gather tools. We gain skills and knowledge and abilities, even how we read people, past experiences, how that turned out. We can see, we can see it coming at us, kind of imagine what it will be. So your kids have this as well. They don't have the experiences you have, but they already have skills. They already have abilities. As a parent, you can help develop their resourcefulness by relying on what they already have. So in my life coaching and hypnotherapy, I use positive resources, a positive resource state. You can do that with your children as well. When did they succeed at something they wanted to do? When were they able to do it right? Go back to that state and you can help foster and develop even more. So again, maybe they're afraid of a new test, right? This is a new school year, it started today. Maybe they're afraid of this certain test. Go back to when they got it right, when they did it well, when they learned something easily. That's a positive resource state. So they already have it. They may not have the 50 years experience like I do, right? Or however many years you have, but they already have tools in their tool bag. You want to help them to grow and develop those as well as adding new ones. Resiliency is a little bit differently. It's adaptability, right? It's the ability to adapt or rebound quickly from challenges or bad fortune. As you all know, I really promote that life happens. There is going to be shit in your world, and to acknowledge it. We cannot control that. We can't control the weather. We can't control the economy. We can't control other people. Resiliency is the ability to rebound, right? And to adapt and change. So you've already lived through a lot. Imagine all of the obstacles and challenges you've already overcome. Your children have resiliency as well. And it's up to you as a parent to foster and develop that. Hi, Gloria. Welcome. So as you all know, I take a no guilt approach. No judgment and no blame. Judgment and blame and guilt are life stealers. They absolutely are. They steal precious time, and as far as I know, they very rarely produce any beneficial results. So as you go through this program, you may see that you were using an old tool, right? As parents, we tend to really go into the guilt and the worry and the fear that we messed this up. Now, my children are already grown. I cannot reverse what I planted in their minds way back when. This isn't what this program is about. So when you learn new tools, right, you are doing the very best you can. You're doing the very best you can with the tools you have at the moment. You can always gain new tools. Put them to use this point forward. Instead of looking back and wishing that you would have had them back then, or really going into the guilt and the blame and the judgment of yourself, right? And the worry that you messed this up. Start from this point forward. Move forward. Gain new tools. It's never too late. And it's never too early. So this is going to be a really fast program tonight. Just want you to know, so I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. But I would love to hear from you and any questions that you have. So again, I really emphasize that we not go into judgment and blame and guilt. They're life stealers and they don't produce any beneficial results. So now I want to cover some basic needs, children's basic needs. First of all, they have an innate need to be safe, secure, and stable. So shelter, food, clothing, medical care, protection from harm. This is your responsibility to provide these basic needs. They need a stable household, a stable family and friends circle, right? So a circle of family and friends, and a community. Children flourish in school, the sense of community. So we cling to our parents, right, and our nuclear family, and then we extend out into our extended family and our extended group of friends, right? All of these groups will influence your child, but also your community. So again, the basic needs are safety, security, and stability. Hi, Trish, welcome. The next basic need is consistency, positive role models, and structure. So important values should not be changed casually, and this is an important one, or for convenience. So if, we believe in health, or going to bed on time, or not talking back, or whatever it is, that consistent application of the values is important. It shouldn't be changed for convenience or casually. It confuses a child. Sometimes we're just tired and we give up. And they ask us 3 times after we said no. And on the 3rd time, for convenience or because we're just tired, we give up. That doesn't meet their needs. It teaches them how to work you, right? So don't give up on your important values casually or for convenience. Remember, they're sponges and they soak it all in. Be the kind of person that you want them to be. On time, truthful, owning up to our stuff, right? We all make mistakes. Own up to them. Kind, compassionate, generous. Be the kind of person you want them to be. Here's an important one. Rules, boundaries, and limits. Because without them, kids are forced to be adults before they are ready. So have clear, firm boundaries. They need to be reasonable and they need to be understandable. Have basic rules, not too many. We'll talk about that in next week, where we train, right, the creativity and the imagination right out of our kids, right? So, but rules that foster their safety and stability and security, rules that foster the consistency and the positive role models, right? Structure, limits. Especially the younger the child is, they flourish better when they know what the rules and the limits are, when they know what the boundaries are. They need this. They're looking to you as their parent to provide this for them. And we'll talk throughout the program and how to adjust, right? So there is a big difference in boundaries and limits and rules with teenagers versus, elementary students. It's about stretching, helping a child to stretch, and we'll talk about that throughout this program. And then the last basic need, there's a lot, but we're going to cover these 3. Love, connection, and emotional support. So as the parent, saying and showing love. A parent's words and actions should facilitate the child's trust, respect, self-esteem, and independence. Be who you needed when you were young. In this category, go back to your upbringing and be who you needed to be when you were young. And then listen to, acknowledge, and accept your child. So those are the basic needs. This is what parents need to make sure, right, that they focus on. And then they need to foster growth and expansion, knowledge and wisdom. And as you know from this program, resourcefulness and resiliency. So I want to further expand basic needs and look at the 4 quadrants of a whole person. So in my adult classes, we go back to even pre-birth. But we look at the 4 quadrants because in our society, generally, the physical and the intellectual quadrants are highly prized, but the emotional and the spiritual are really depleted. But to be a healthy person, to be a healthy person, we need all the quadrants to be balanced, fulfilled, and fostered to be developed. So a healthy human has 4 quadrants or focuses. As a parent, being aware of these can give you the tools that you need to help your child develop all 4. Hi Markel, welcome. As an adult though, seeing the information may provide you clues into your own development. So the first quadrant is the physical quadrant. And the focus is on being alive. And usually, we develop this quadrant from birth to 1 year. Right? We are small babies. We depend on other humans for all of our needs. We can't move, we can't eat, we can't clean ourselves, we can't even go to bed by ourselves. So the focus is on being alive. The need is safety. A baby needs safety. They don't flourish, right, if they are in an unsafe environment. They need to know that they can survive. Especially from birth to 1 year, they need to know they can survive. Now, if the need is not met, and here's where it's important for you as an adult, but to watch for your child, we may become fearful of physical harm. So we know people who come, maybe start school, or people we know in our groups who are naturally fearful. If they're presented with something new, they are the ones that really point out all of the dangers, right? It's a self-limiting belief. We may believe deep in the subconscious, right? And remember, the subconscious is 90% of the power of your mind, that the world just isn't safe. So we will have limited connections. We will have limited exposure. These will be the people that are more likely to only have a small group that they trust. They're very distrustful of the world in general, if their needs are not met. Now the opposite is true, and this is where we want to go with your children. The next quadrant is emotional. It focuses on feelings, emotions. Usually develops from 1 year to 6 years. And the need is to belong. This is your family group, your core group. Right? Small children under the age of 6 very much depend on their family, their nuclear family. So the need is to belong. And remember, one of the core basic needs is connection. To have a sense of self, to be loved and to love. This is where we learn how to love others. This is how we learn, where we learn, right, to accept love. Now, if the need is not met, we may develop feelings of rejection, betrayal, or abandonment. We may believe deep in the subconscious that there's something wrong with me. This would be children of divorce, right? If only I were better, they would have stayed together. Something is wrong with me. And we may carry that all the way through life. So these people whose needs weren't met would be the ones, if something goes wrong, they take the blame. Oh, that was my fault. I should have done it better. I didn't do it well enough. Something is wrong with me. If a relationship, right, doesn't go well, they believe it's their fault. Something's wrong with me. If only I were more. If only I was this or that, they would love me better. Right? The next quadrant is the intellectual quadrant, and the focus is on thinking, reasoning, and problem solving, and it usually develops around 6 years of age. So this correlates, right, with going to school. The need is to develop our intellect, to know that I can survive, and this is important, and function in the world. Now, if the need is not met, we may develop feelings of being ashamed, feeling unable, or feeling stupid. We may believe deep in the subconscious that we can't, that we're not able, or we're not capable. So these people that didn't get their needs met would be the ones who, if something goes wrong, they say they're stupid, right? Oh, I'm just stupid. They're also the ones that generally will fall into that victim category of the drama triangle, right? I can't. I'm not able. I'm not capable. Right? I can't function in the world by myself. So these people are highly prone to falling into the victim category. Now the last one is the spiritual quadrant, and we work on this one until we take our last breath. The focus is on questions of who am I, or why am I here? Welcome, Chelsea. And it usually begins developing around preteen or teenage years and continues throughout life, again, until we take our last breath. This is when teenagers especially, right, start to move away from their parents' beliefs. They start to wear their hair crazy. They start to become more independent. This is when we're questioning, who am I? Not a subset of my parents, but who am I? Why am I here? This is when we start to develop what we want to do in life. So the need is spiritual growth, right? Of the spirit, not religious. This is not religious. This is spirit, right? Searching out your spiritual self, to know one's creator, right? To know God as you know or understand God, right? This higher authority, this higher power, your creator. If the need is not met, we may develop confusion, lack of fulfillment, not knowing who we are or our place in the world, and we may suffer from a sense of emptiness. We may develop deep in the subconscious, why does it even matter? Or, I don't matter. This is a dangerous one. If I don't matter, or if nothing matters, right, then is life worth living? So these people, many times, we call them wanderers, right, or seekers. Sometimes they just can never feel fulfilled. They're empty. They're empty. They don't know who they are or why they're here. This is dangerous. So, the 4 quadrants of a whole human, right? You need all 4 quadrants developed. And again, most of society really acknowledges the physical, right? Our athletes and our models and our actors and actresses, or the intellectual, right? Professors, CEOs, people of power. We don't foster the emotional quadrant or the spiritual quadrant. We don't put as much focus there. But as a parent, you can. So again, the spiritual really develops more in preteen and teenage years. So if your children are very young, you'll just want to be watching out for this. Develop it in yourself, right? You are their mirror. They will follow your lead. All right. So foster their natural traits. These are their strengths. Absolutely, these are their strengths. For instance, are they quiet or active? Do they like books or do they prefer sports? Are they an introvert or an extrovert? Really start to develop and foster their natural tendencies and traits. These will be their strengths throughout life. Now, their weaknesses, and we all have them, we need to be aware of them, but we can't turn a weakness into their major strength. Right? We want to stick with who they naturally are and then give them tools, just like resourcefulness and resiliency. Give them tools to meet the challenges that will be presented by their own weaknesses. Right? And they're not really weaknesses, they're just not preferences. We can't be everything. We're not all of the strengths. Right? We have natural tendencies. But when we need to call on something that we're not as fluent in, we need these other tools and other tools in our toolbox to meet the challenge. All right, we're getting close. We're wrapping this up. So what are the characteristics of resourcefulness and resiliency? So children easily develop, and they probably already possess, many of these qualities naturally. The key for parents is not to train them right out of our kids, right? And this can be parents or other authority figures. We absolutely train imagination and creativity and wonder right out of our kids. Right? Happens easily when we, as parents, or by society's rules, are fearful and worry about what's best for the child. So either the child or our own abilities, right, we're fearful of. So as a parent, many times we don't think we're doing it well. We don't think we're doing it right. We don't think we're doing enough. Do you hear, right? Those inner limiting beliefs then carry forward into your parenting. What are you afraid of? What do you worry about? It will almost always go back to your own limiting belief. Right, but what we want, that's already probably in our children, and we want to foster and develop that and not train it out, is imagination and wonder and being happy for others. Children are naturally happy for others. They don't develop the jealousy until farther down the road, right? And that generally comes from our training of them. Satisfaction, right? Most of the time they're satisfied. If they're playing a game, they really don't care if they win or lose most of the time, right? That gets trained into them. It doesn't come naturally. Open-mindedness. Children are open-minded. They come into the world open-minded. They're trained to close their mind. Compassionate. Children are naturally compassionate. They care for others. They have empathy. Remember, they are not, especially small children, are not language-based. They are feeling-based. They look and feel the energy and the facial cues and the body language and the tone of the voice of others. They're naturally compassionate. It gets trained out of them. And they're good at visualization, right? Because of their imagination and creativity. So you can utilize visualization as a tool to help them to develop resourcefulness and resiliency, to achieve goals. Visualization is highly, highly effective. All right, so I want to cover some basics in this program that will always be basics, which is, one, the world is not fair. It's not everything is equal. It doesn't always go the way we want it to. We are not always good at everything we try. Nor are we good at everything that our friends are good at. And not everyone will like us. These are basics. I want to cover them again, because they shouldn't stop us from being happy and successful. So again, the world is not fair. Was never meant to be. It wasn't. It's one of our challenges. It's the human experience. Not everything is equal. Some people are great athletes. Some people are geniuses. I happen to be neither. Right? So not everything is equal. Was never meant to be. It doesn't always go the way we want it to. It doesn't. Even our best laid plans, sometimes we fall short. Right? Sometimes things out of our control prevent us from getting what we want. We are not always good at everything we try. I'm not good at volleyball and basketball. I'm not. I love to play. So back to satisfaction. I love to play. I'm not good at it. Nor are we good at everything our friends are good at. I am in a family of very athletic people. Right? I'm not good at what they're good at. It's okay. It's okay. And not everyone will like us. This is so true. So true. And remember my advice. What other people think of us is none of our business. Right? What other people think of me is none of my business. Not everyone will like us. But, or actually I like to use the word and, we don't need it to be happy and successful. We do not need it to be happy and successful. We can overcome all of that. We can work in spite of those basic facts. And that's what I want you to teach our children or to work with your grandchildren. For yourself, right? How do you develop resourcefulness and resiliency so that these basic facts, which will always exist, don't derail your life? You work in spite of, you work with, you overcome the challenges, you develop your own strengths and those of your children. So next week, right, we're already done. Next week, parenting tips. And next week really might be about an hour because I have a lot to cover. So the information I present tonight is just a brief overview. Those of you in the education know how extensive each of these topics can be. So I try to highlight and bring you tips that you can put to use right away that will make a positive difference. But understand this may be all you need, or it may just scratch the surface. So what I present tonight, you may have heard something that you can put to use, and that's as deep as you need to go. You already have a lot of tools in your tool bag. But you may see that you want to work a little bit more. Right? This just scratched the surface, and you need more in-depth, right, coaching or counseling. So as you know, I'm trained in life coaching, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and hypnotherapy. And I'm skilled in the application of all of the material that I present. I don't present anything to you that I can't work with you on. But as always, my services are not intended to replace medical or psychotherapy treatment. They're absolutely not. There are many situations that require professional care, such as I talked earlier about divorce, right? That requires professional care. It's above my pay grade, right? Above my scope of authority. But if you're unsure, always, always, always seek the advice of the trained professionals. Understand that even if you want to use my services and you're under the care of a trained professional, I can be an added tool to work with that so that you get the very best out of your endeavors, right, out of your efforts. So with that, I hope you join me next week. We're going to talk about parenting tips, right, how what we say and do can really plant these limiting beliefs. Now understand again, our children are going to have them. We have them. It's part of the human experience. This isn't about guilt or blame. This is truly about finding new tools that work for you and help you overcome any challenge that comes your way. Resourcefulness and resiliency. Each and every one of you already has it. Thank you, and I hope to see you next week.